After my girlfriend pushed me into the ocean, I made her arch nemesis my wife. My girlfriend, Chloe Astor, was the beautiful, innocent-seeming queen of the Manhattan social scene. I'd spent 3 years as her devoted lapdog just to win her over. But to entertain her new boy toy, she pushed me off a yacht in the Hamptons during my own birthday party. I ended up in the ICU. The first thing I did after waking up in the hospital was call her sworn enemy, Sophia Rossi. I told her, "Marry me, and I'll help you ruin the Astor family." The icy Atlantic water flooded my mouth and nose, swallowing me whole. I can't swim. A childhood trauma left me with a paralyzing fear of water. In my last moments of fading consciousness, I saw Chloe, the woman I'd loved for 3 years, nestled in the arms of a handsome young man on the yacht's deck. She was pointing at me as I thrashed in the water, doubled over with laughter. That man was Leo, some college kid she'd recently become infatuated with. And today was supposed to be my birthday party. "Caleb, I thought you said you loved me. Can't you take a joke? You look like a drowning rat out there." Chloe's mocking voice was a dagger laced with poison, twisting in my heart. I tried to scream for help, but the seawater choked my throat. My limbs felt heavy as lead. Despair and suffocation were my last memories of this world. When I opened my eyes again, I was met by the stark white of a hospital room. The smell of antiseptic hung in the air. A middle-aged man in a black suit, his hair combed impeccably, stood by my bed, his eyes red-rimmed. "Mr. Vance, you're finally awake." He was our family's longtime head of household, Arthur. I moved my lips, my throat raw and painful. My voice came out as a rasp. "Arthur, how long was I out?" 3 days and 3 nights. The doctors almost called it several times. Arthur said, his voice trembling with residual fear. "Your parents are on a flight back from Europe now." "Mr. Vance, what on earth happened?" "Miss Astor told everyone you fell overboard by accident." "An accident?" A cold, bitter smile touched my lips. Even now, Chloe was still lying. It wasn't that she was afraid of the consequences. She simply decided that the life of her loyal doormat wasn't worth the effort of a proper explanation. 3 years of devotion. In her eyes, it was all just a joke. I closed my eyes, the image of her smiling face as she pushed me replaying in my mind. The face I once thought was the most beautiful in the world now seemed nothing but cruel and grotesque. "Arthur," I said again, my voice devoid of any emotion, "get my discharge papers ready." "But sir, your condition." "I'm fine." I cut him off. "And one more thing. Arrange a meeting with Sophia Rossi for me. Tell her I have a business proposal for her." Arthur froze. Sophia Rossi. In the circles we moved in, everyone knew that name. She was not only the formidable head of the Rossi group, but also Chloe Astor's arch-rival since childhood. The two families were locked in a bitter war for market dominance, and their personal animosity was legendary. Arthur clearly didn't understand why I would want to see her, but he didn't question me. He simply nodded. "Yes, Mr. Vance." As he left to handle the arrangements, I reached for my phone on the bedside table. The screen lit up with dozens of iMessage notifications from Chloe. There was no concern, no apology, just a string of impatient accusations. "Caleb, are you done with this little stunt? Who are you playing dead for? So you swallowed a little water? Do you really need to hide out in the hospital for 3 days? Do you have any idea how that makes me look? Leo thinks I'm some kind of monster. My parents are making me apologize. Fine, I'm sorry. Happy now? Can you get out of there already? My new Hermes bag isn't going to pay for itself. Caleb, I'm warning you. Don't push your luck. If you don't answer me right now, we're through." I stared at the messages, feeling the last bit of warmth drain from my heart. I didn't reply. I just screenshotted the entire conversation and saved it. Then I called her. She picked up almost immediately, her voice dripping with irritation. "Caleb, you finally decided to answer? I was starting to think you actually died." "Chloe," I said calmly, "we're done." Silence on the other end. A few seconds later, a cold, sharp laugh. "Done? Caleb, are you trying to play hard to get? You think this will make me beg you to come back? Dream on. There are a dozen guys lined up waiting to spend money on me. But you? Who are you going to find without me? That's not your problem anymore." I hung up before she could respond and blocked her number, her social media, everything. It was over. 3 years of humiliating devotion, a one-man show of self-deception. It was finally over. From this day forward, I was no longer Chloe Astor's lapdog. I was Caleb Vance, the heir to the Vance fortune, and I was going to make her pay a terrible price for what she did. Half an hour later, Arthur opened the door, and a tall, impossibly chic woman walked in behind him. She wore a sharp, tailored white pantsuit, her long hair pulled back to reveal a flawless brow and exquisite features. Her eyes were sharp, like a drawn sword. It was Sophia Rossi. She glanced at my pale face on the hospital bed, raising a single, perfectly sculpted eyebrow in surprise. "Caleb," she said, her voice cool and crisp. "I was told you wanted to talk business." Everyone in our circle knew me as Chloe's shadow, the guy who followed her everywhere and did her bidding. As Chloe's rival, Sophia naturally knew who I was. In her memory, I was probably just the idiot who trailed behind Chloe, carrying her shopping bags with a pathetic, eager smile on his face. "Ms. Rossi, please, have a seat," I said, gesturing to the chair beside my bed. Sophia sat down without ceremony, crossing her legs in a posture that was all business. "Let's hear it. What kind of proposal is so urgent you had to drag me here?" She probably thought I was here on Chloe's orders, trying to broker some kind of truce between their families. I smiled faintly and got straight to the point. "I want you to marry me." The air in the room instantly crystallized. For the first time, Sophia's sharp gaze faltered, replaced by sheer disbelief. She stared at me as if I were a lunatic. "Caleb, do you have any idea what you're saying?" she frowned. "Did that salt water fry your brain?" "I've never been clearer in my life," I said, looking her directly in the eye. "I need a wife to officially and publicly cut ties with Chloe Astor. You need an ally to take down her family's company. We're the perfect match." Her expression shifted from shock to scrutiny. She was silent for a moment, rapidly processing the implications of my proposal. "An ally," she scoffed. "Caleb, what makes you think you're qualified to be my ally? Because you spent a few years buying Chloe's handbags." Her words were blunt and insulting, but from her perspective, it was the simple truth. I wasn't offended. I calmly handed her a folder Arthur had brought me earlier. "This is the proof of my majority share ownership in Orion Capital." Sophia took the folder, her expression skeptical. She opened it. After reading the first line, her eyes widened, her pupils contracting in shock. Orion Capital was the dark horse investment firm that had taken Wall Street by storm in recent years. Known for its aggressive, almost predatory instincts and uncanny foresight, it had shaken up the entire financial landscape. Its founder, however, had always remained a closely guarded secret. No one would have ever imagined that the firm's mysterious architect was me, the man who had debased himself for Chloe Astor. Sophia closed the folder, her gaze on me now completely transformed. If before she was scrutinizing, now she was showing genuine respect. "So these last 3 years, you were acting?" she asked. "Not entirely," I said with a self-deprecating laugh. "Half acting, half genuine stupidity. My grandfathers will had a stipulation, a test. I had to hide my identity and find a woman who would love me for who I was, not for my money. I thought Chloe was that person." How laughable. The woman I thought was a pristine ice queen was, in reality, a heartless, gold-digging narcissist. Sophia was quiet for a moment, letting the information sink in. "Your terms," she finally said, her cool, professional demeanor returning. "It's simple," I told her. "We enter into a contract marriage for 1 year. Within that year, I will use all of my resources and connections to help you completely dismantle the Astor family's core business, Astor Properties. In return, you will play the part of my devoted wife in all public settings." "That's it?" Sophia asked, unconvinced. "That's it," I confirmed. "I have only one condition. I want Chloe Astor to lose everything." My voice was quiet, but Sophia heard the ice in it. She looked at me, and suddenly she smiled. It was a smile of appreciation and a shared sense of purpose. "All right, I'm in," she said, standing up and extending her hand. "A pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Vance." I took her hand. It was cool to the touch, but her grip was firm. "The pleasure is all mine, Mrs. Vance." My marriage to Sophia was handled swiftly and with maximum publicity. There was no wedding, just a single announcement distributed by the Rossi Group's PR team to every major media outlet covering the Manhattan elite. Sophia Rossi, CEO of the Rossi Group, and Caleb Vance, founder of Orion Capital, registered their marriage today. The news sent shockwaves through the city. The founder of Orion Capital? Caleb Vance? The same Caleb Vance who had been Chloe Astor's glorified errand boy for 3 years? Everyone assumed it had to be a different person with the same name. It wasn't until a photo of me and Sophia was released that they were forced to accept the unbelievable reality. Immediately, rumors and speculation ran wild. Some said Sophia and I had been having a secret affair all along, that I had been cheating on Chloe. Others claimed I was a brilliant social climber who had used Chloe as a stepping stone to get to the real power, Sophia Rossi. Of course, the most venomous reaction came from Chloe herself. I could only imagine the look on her face when she saw the news. As expected, her call came quickly. She couldn't reach my phone, so she called Arthur. I had just finished changing into a tuxedo for a gala we were attending that evening. Arthur handed me his phone, his expression a mixture of apprehension and disgust. "Sir, it's Miss Astor." I took the phone and put it on speaker. "Caleb, you bastard. What is the meaning of this?" Chloe's shriek was sharp enough to shatter glass. "You married that bitch Sophia Rossi? You're doing this just to get back at me, aren't you?" "I simply found someone better suited to me," I replied, my voice calm. "Better suited? You think a cold-hearted shark like Sophia actually likes you? She's only after your money. Caleb, get a grip. Have you forgotten how you chased me? You said you loved me, that I was the only one for you. Was all of that a lie?" Her words were so absurd, I almost laughed. "Chloe, when you pushed me into the ocean and I was fighting for my life, what were you thinking about?" I asked coldly. The line went dead quiet. I was just joking around." Her voice trailed off, losing its conviction. "Really?" I let out a short, sharp laugh. "Then feel free to think of my marriage to Sophia as just another joke." "Caleb!" she screamed, utterly furious. "You just wait. I won't let you and Sophia get away with this. You think you're so great now that you've attached yourself to the Rossi family? The Astors are not to be trifled with. I'm counting on it." I ended the call. Nearby, Sophia was waiting, dressed in a stunning black evening gown. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me. The gown was simple in its design, but it perfectly accentuated her elegant figure. A diamond necklace sparkled at her throat, catching the light. "It seems your ex-girlfriend isn't taking it well," she said, raising an eyebrow with a hint of amusement. "Whether she takes it well or not has nothing to do with me," I said, walking over and offering my arm. Sophia glanced at me, then gently placed her hand in the crook of my elbow. Her skin was smooth and cool. "Shall we, Mrs. Vance?" I said in a low voice. "The battle is about to begin." The gala was held on the top floor of the most luxurious hotel in New York, a gathering of the city's most powerful and influential figures. The moment Sophia and I arrived, we became the center of attention. We moved through the room like a pair of seasoned actors playing our parts to perfection. I was the adoring husband, she the graceful and supportive wife. Arm in arm, we smiled and navigated the sea of inquisitive and congratulatory faces. The way people looked at me was a complex mixture of shock, curiosity, and a barely concealed envy. They couldn't comprehend how I, a once-forgotten kept man, had transformed overnight into the enigmatic head of Orion Capital and married a woman like Sophia Rossi. And their confusion was exactly what I wanted. I wanted everyone who ever looked down on me to reevaluate my worth. Predictably, it didn't take long for Chloe and her parents, including her father, Robert Astor, the chairman of Astor Properties, to appear, their faces dark with fury. They were here for us. Chloe wore a white, princess-style dress and flawless makeup, a desperate attempt to maintain her image as the darling of the Upper East Side. But her red-rimmed eyes and tightly clenched fists betrayed the turmoil raging within her. Her gaze was fixed on my hand, holding Sophia's, her eyes practically shooting flames. "Caleb," Robert Astor was the first to confront us. He approached me with the condescending air of a disappointed elder. "Son, how could you be so reckless? After 3 years with Chloe, how could you just throw it all away? And to turn around and marry a Rossi? You're making the Astor family a laughingstock." His words were a transparent attempt at moral blackmail, painting me as the villain who had broken his daughter's heart. Before I could respond, Sophia stepped forward, positioning herself slightly in front of me. She smiled sweetly at Robert Astor. "Mr. Astor, that's a rather strange accusation. Relationships end. When things don't work out, people move on. It's perfectly normal. Or did Chloe forget to mention that she was the one who ended things?" Robert Astor's face went rigid. Chloe, incensed, rushed forward and pointed a trembling finger at Sophia. "You're lying. He broke up with me. Sophia, you homewrecker, you stole my boyfriend. You have no shame." Her shrill voice drew the attention of everyone nearby. Sophia's smile never wavered, but her eyes turned to ice. "Miss Astor, you can eat whatever you like, but you should be more careful with your words. Caleb was a single man when we got together. You, on the other hand, were cuddling up with another man on a yacht while you were still dating him. You even pushed him into the ocean, nearly killing him. If we're talking about shame, I don't think anyone here can compete with you." The bombshell silenced the room. A wave of whispers rippled through the crowd. "What? Chloe pushed Caleb into the ocean? Seriously? For that college kid? She always seems so sweet. I guess you never know." Chloe's face turned a shade of crimson. She never imagined Sophia would air her dirty laundry in such a public forum. You're slandering me," she stammered, shaking with rage. "Am I?" I finally spoke, my voice as cold as a tomb. "You know exactly what you did, Chloe. Out of respect for the 3 years we knew each other, I'll give you a chance to walk away with some dignity. Take your family and get out of my sight." Now, my gaze was devoid of any warmth. Chloe flinched, instinctively taking a step back. She had never seen me like this. The old Caleb was always gentle, always eager to please. No matter how angry she got, I would be the one to soothe her. But now, the man looking at her was a stranger. The stark contrast terrified her in a way she had never experienced before. "Caleb," she murmured, her tone softening into a pathetic plea. "Was it all a misunderstanding? What happened on my birthday? I didn't mean it. I was just trying to be playful." "Playful?" I cut her off, taking a step toward her. "Chloe, I spent 3 days in a coma in the ICU because of your playful little joke. And you? Not a single phone call, not one sincere apology. And now you're telling me it was all a joke." Every step I took seemed to land like a physical blow. Her face was ashen, her lips trembling, unable to form a single word. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Robert Astor quickly stepped in to mediate. "Caleb, a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Chloe is young and foolish. She doesn't know any better. I apologize on her behalf. Look, why don't our two families sit down and talk this through?" "There's nothing to talk about," I said, my cold gaze fixed on him. "From this day forward, I am done with the Astor family. As for business..." I paused, turning to Sophia. In front of everyone, I took her hand and raised it for all to see. "From now on, my wife's enemies are my enemies. And Orion Capital will back the Rossi Group with everything it has." The declaration was a nuclear bomb. The color drained from Robert Astor's face. He knew better than anyone the power that Orion Capital wielded. If my firm threw its full weight behind the Rossi family, the future of Astor Properties was bleak. He stared at me, his eyes filled with shock and a dawning, sickening regret. He probably never imagined that the lapdog his daughter had so carelessly discarded was actually a tiger capable of deciding the fate of his entire dynasty. And Chloe simply stood there, frozen. She watched Sophia and me, saw the undisguised loathing in my eyes, and finally understood. She had truly, irrevocably lost me. The man who once placed her on a pedestal, who treated her like a precious jewel, was gone forever. After the gala, the news of my alliance with Sophia and my declaration of war against the Astors spread like wildfire through New York's elite. The next morning, Astor Properties stock plummeted. Robert Astor, now frantic, tried to arrange a meeting with me multiple times, but I refused to take his calls. Meanwhile, Sophia and I began our coordinated assault on his company. My 3 years of serving Chloe had not been a total waste. To win her favor, I had helped Astor Properties out of several jams, which gave me an intimate understanding of their internal operations, financial weaknesses, and upcoming projects. This information, once just casual knowledge, was now my most lethal weapon. Astor Properties is bidding on that new Hudson Yards development, I explained in Sophia's office, pointing to a set of blueprints. They've leveraged nearly half the company's assets to secure financing. Their cash flow is stretched to the breaking point. Sophia nodded. She had been eyeing that project for months. Their top bid is probably around $5 billion, I continued. We can use a shell corporation to drive the price up to 5.5, pushing them to their absolute limit. Then, we pull the rug out from under them by cutting off their credit line. And how we do that? Sophia asked, intrigued. Their biggest creditor is Sterling Bank. The CEO's son is getting married next month, I said with a faint smile. I can arrange for Europe's top wedding planner to fly in and organize the event for him, pro bono. Sophia's eyes lit up. She understood perfectly. Sometimes, the most brutal wars in business are fought without firing a single shot. Done, she said decisively. Let's do it. Our plan unfolded flawlessly. At the auction, Robert Astor, as predicted, was forced into a bidding war with our proxy company. He ended up winning the land rights for a staggering $6 billion. He thought he had won. He even boasted to the press that Astor Properties was strong enough to weather any storm. He had no idea he had just walked into a much larger trap. 3 days later, Sterling Bank abruptly announced a reassessment of its loans to Astor Properties, demanding an early repayment of a significant portion of their debt. For a company that had just drained its liquid assets, the news was a death blow. Robert Astor panicked. He started calling and texting me incessantly. His tone shifted from indignant to desperate. Caleb, I'm begging you, give the Astors a way out. I know we were wrong. It was all Chloe's fault. I'll make her get on her knees and apologize to you. How about that? Just call off. Name your price. I'll give you anything. I read the messages with a sense of deep irony. If he had known this was coming, would he have acted differently? I didn't reply. I just silenced my phone. Chloe, too, finally swallowed her ridiculous pride and began a relentless campaign to contact me. She was no longer the untouchable queen of the social scene, but a desperate gambler who had lost her entire stake. First, she showed up at the gate of the townhouse Sophia and I shared, trying to confront me. Security turned her away. She stood on the sidewalk screaming that she loved me, that she couldn't live without me, that everything was her fault. I had Arthur call the police, who warned her for disturbing the peace. Undeterred, she tried to catch me at the Orion Capital offices. I used the private underground garage entrance. She acted like a madwoman, trying anything she could think of to see me. Finally, she learned that Sophia and I were attending a charity auction and managed to sneak in. The atmosphere inside was electric. Sophia and I sat in the front row, occasionally leaning in to speak to each other, appearing to the world as a seamless, affectionate couple. And in truth, after working so closely together, our relationship had grown much warmer. Sophia was an incredibly intelligent woman, and working with her was effortless. There were no false pretenses between us. Everything was about efficiency and results. And sometimes, I would see glimpses of a softer side beneath her powerful corporate exterior. She remembered that I hated cilantro. She would have her assistant bring me a hot coffee when I was working late. These small gestures of care were like a warm current, slowly melting the ice around my heart. Our next item is a one-of-a-kind necklace by the famed designer Aurelian, the heart of the ocean. Bidding will start at $500,000, the auctioneer announced. All eyes turned to the magnificent sapphire necklace on display. Beside me, I saw a flicker of admiration in Sophia's eyes. I could tell she loved it. $600,000, I said, raising my paddle. $700, a voice from the back called out. $800, $1 million. The price climbed rapidly. Soon, it was just me and one other bidder left. $2 million, I said again, my voice even. A gasp went through the room. $2 million for a necklace was an extravagant sum. The bidder in the back went silent. Just as the auctioneer was about to bring the gavel down, a jarring voice cut through the air. $2.1 million. It was Chloe. She had appeared from nowhere and was standing in the aisle. Holding a paddle she must have snatched from someone else. Her eyes, bloodshot and wild, were fixed on me. She looked haggard, her makeup smudged. The entire room turned to stare at our little drama. I frowned. Sophia gently patted my hand, a silent signal to remain calm. Caleb, you used to love buying me things, remember? Chloe's voice was thick with tears, yet laced with a hysterical madness. I love that necklace. Buy it for me, please, just like you used to. She actually believed she could manipulate me with memories of the past. How naive. I ignored her completely and addressed the auctioneer. 3 million. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the silent hall. The color drained from Chloe's face. She understood my message. It's not that I can't afford it. It's that I will never spend another dime on you. It was a humiliation more profound than any insult. Caleb, she screamed, completely breaking down. Why are you doing this to me? What did I do that was so wrong? So I push you into the water? You didn't die. Why do you have to be so cruel, so vindictive? Her confession sent another shockwave through the audience. The rumors were true. The crowd's expression shifted from amusement to contempt. Sophia stood up, her gaze cold. Miss Astor, this is a charity auction, not a stage for your tantrums. If you don't compose yourself, I will have security remove you. Shut up, Sophia. It's all your fault, you manipulative witch. Chloe redirected all her fury. If it weren't for you, Caleb would never treat me like this. You stole everything from me. She lunged towards Sophia, her hand raised to strike. I moved in a flash, pulling Sophia behind me and grabbing Chloe's wrist. That's enough, I said, my voice dangerously low. Don't humiliate yourself any further, Chloe. My grip was strong, and she winced in pain. She struggled, tears streaming down her face. You're hurting me, Caleb. Let go. She sobbed, tried to appeal to me the way she always had when we argued. In the past, I would have softened instantly. Now, I only felt disgust. I flung her hand away from me as if it were contaminated. Security. 2 guards immediately rushed over and took Chloe by the arms. Please escort her out, I instructed coldly. No, Caleb, you can't do this to me, she wailed as they dragged her away. I love you. I really do. Just give me one more chance, please. Her cries faded as the doors closed behind her. The auction hall was dead silent. I adjusted my tuxedo jacket as if nothing had happened and turned back to the auctioneer. Shall we continue? Startled back to reality, the auctioneer quickly grabbed his gavel. 3 million going once, 3 million going twice. Sold. To Mr. Vance. Amid a sea of complex stares, I collected the heart of the ocean. Without a moment's hesitation, I turned and personally fastened the necklace around Sophia's neck. The deep blue of the sapphire made her skin look like porcelain. Is it beautiful? I asked her. Sophia looked at me, an unreadable emotion in her eyes. She didn't answer my question. Instead, she just said softly, thank you. That night, Chloe Astor became a cautionary tale, a joke told at dinner parties across the city. And the Astor family situation grew more dire by the day. Under the combined pressure from my firm and the Rossi Group, Astor Properties' finances collapsed. Projects stalled, their stock was worthless, and bankruptcy was imminent. Robert Astor's hair turned white overnight. He begged for help, but every door was closed to him. No one was willing to risk angering the ascendant Rossi Group and the powerful, mysterious Orion Capital to save a sinking ship. When you're falling, everyone pushes. That is the simple reality of the world we live in. During this time, the dynamic between Sophia and me was quietly changing. We were no longer just allies. We ate together, worked together, and attended events together. We talked about business, about life, about our pasts. I discovered that beneath her tough, steely exterior, she was incredibly soft. She loved old black and white movies, enjoyed a hot chocolate on rainy days, and owned a fluffy black cat named Onyx to whom she confessed all her secrets. And she discovered that I wasn't just a rich guy who threw money around. I could fix her broken espresso machine. I could cook her a perfect dinner based on her favorite foods. I would silently drape a blanket over her shoulders when she fell asleep at her desk. The atmosphere between us began to feel less like a business arrangement and more like a real marriage. One night, after we had finished up some work in the study, she suddenly asked, Caleb, when this is all over with the Astors, is our agreement still on? I knew what she was asking. Our contract was for 1 year. I looked at her in the soft lamplight. Her eyes were like deep pools, holding a flicker of hope and nervousness that I couldn't quite decipher. My heart stirred. On impulse, I asked, do you want it to be over? A blush spread across Sophia's cheeks. It was the first time I had ever seen her look so flustered, so vulnerable. She turned her head away, trying to maintain her composure. I'm just asking. We're business partners. I need to confirm the long-term plan. I couldn't help but smile. I walked over to her and gently tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet my gaze. Sophia, I said, my voice serious. I don't want it to be over. Her body tensed slightly, her long eyelashes fluttering like a butterfly's wings. My grandfather's test was to find someone who truly loved me. I continued. I thought I had failed, but now I think I might have found her after all. I didn't say the words, I love you, but in that moment we both understood. Sophia's eyes welled up with tears. She said nothing. She just rose on her toes and kissed me. Her kiss was tentative, hesitant, trembling with unspoken emotion. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her close, and deepened the kiss. Outside, the city lights twinkled like fallen stars. Inside, a new warmth spread through the room. Just as my relationship with Sophia began to deepen, news broke about Chloe. She had vanished. After being thrown out of the auction and with her family's company on the brink of collapse, she had simply disappeared. At first, I didn't pay it any mind. I assumed she was hiding somewhere in shame. Until Arthur came to me with a grave expression, holding a police report. Mr. Vance, Miss Astor is missing. Robert Astor has filed a report. I frowned. Missing? Yes. And Arthur hesitated. The police found her coat and a suicide note on a beach out in the Hamptons. My heart sank. The note was short, filled with despair and a twisted devotion to me. She wrote that she knew she had made mistakes, but had no way to atone for them. She said I was the only man she had ever loved, and if she couldn't have me, life wasn't worth living. She had chosen to end her life in the very same area where she had pushed me into the water. The story exploded. The tide of public opinion turned in an instant. The same people who had condemned Chloe's actions now sympathized with her. And I was transformed from the victim into the cold-hearted monster who had driven his ex-girlfriend to suicide. Okay, Chloe was wrong. But did he have to push her to her death? Caleb Vance is ruthless. They were together for 3 years. You think he'd have some shred of decency? It was probably that Sophia Rossi. She's the real viper, whispering in his ear. Vicious speculation and attacks came at us from all sides. The Rossi group's stock took a hit. The pressure on Sophia was immense, but she never mentioned it to me. All she said was, the truth will come out. We just have to ignore the noise. I knew she was trying to protect me, but I felt a bitter taste in my mouth. I hated Chloe, but I had only wanted her to pay for what she had done. I wanted her to lose her status, her money, to feel what it was like to fall from grace. I never wanted her dead. If she really died because of me, I wasn't sure I could ever live with myself. I was in a dark place for those few days. Sophia saw it. She didn't say anything, but she was just there. She canceled her evening meetings to come home early and watch old movies with me. When I couldn't sleep, she would make me a glass of warm milk and sit with me in silence until I drifted off. Her quiet, unwavering support was a light in the darkness. I took her hand and said, Sophia, thank you. She shook her head, her expression serious. Caleb, I believe in you, and I believe the truth always finds its way to the surface. The breakthrough came a week later. A private investigator contacted Arthur. He had a video. The footage was shaky, clearly filmed from a distance. The location was a beach on a remote tropical island. In a video, a woman in sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat was lounging on a beach chair, sipping a cocktail. Despite the disguise, I recognized her instantly. It was Chloe. She wasn't dead. The suicide, the note, all of it. It was a meticulously staged performance. She had planned to use her death to win public sympathy and ruin me and Sophia forever. The sheer malice of it sent a chill down my spine. Looking at her relaxing in the sun, I realized this woman was completely unhinged. Sir, what should we do? Should we release the video? Arthur asked. I shook my head. Releasing it would clear our names, but it would be letting her off too easy. I was going to make her fall from the paradise she had built for herself into a very real hell. I had Arthur make a copy of the video. Then I dialed Robert Astor's number. His voice on the other end was frail and exhausted. Caleb, is that you? Do you have news about Chloe? He asked, a desperate hope in his voice. Mr. Astor, I said flatly, be in my office tomorrow at 10 a.m. There's someone I want you to see. I hung up. The next day, Robert Astor arrived right on time. He looked 10 years older than the last time I'd seen him. His hair was completely white, his back stooped. Caleb, where is she? He asked, his voice trembling. I didn't answer. I had Arthur play a different video on the large screen in my office, a live feed from the investigator on the island. On the screen, Chloe was chasing a young man on the beach, laughing without a care in the world. The man was Leo, the college student. Robert Astor stared at the image of his daughter, his face slack with disbelief. The blood drained from his face, and he swayed on his feet. What? What is this? Chloe, she's not dead. I finished for him, my voice dripping with scorn. You raised a real masterpiece, Mr. Astor. She used her own death to manipulate the public and try to destroy me and Sophia, while she took the last of your company's cash to run off with her lover to a tropical paradise. No, it's not possible, Robert Astor mumbled, refusing to accept it. Not possible, I sneered, throwing a stack of bank statements on the desk in front of him. These are the wire transfers from her account. The day before she disappeared, she moved $100 million from Astor Properties to an offshore account. Mr. Astor, while you're out begging for loans to save your company, your darling daughter is spending its last dollar on her vacation. Robert stared at the statements. Every number was a hammer blow to his heart. He finally collapsed onto the sofa, clutching his chest, a strangled gasp escaping his lips. That monster, that ungrateful monster, he wept, tears of pure regret streaming down his face. I ignored his breakdown and had Arthur anonymously send the video of Chloe on the island to every major news outlet and gossip site. We included the bank statements proving she had embezzled $100 million. Astor heiress faked suicide, fled country with $100 million and lover. The headline was more explosive than anything that had come before. With incontrovertible proof now public, the narrative didn't just reverse. It backfired with spectacular violence. If people thought she was spoiled and cruel before, they now saw her for what she was, a malicious sociopathic fraud. OMG, this woman is sick, faking a suicide to frame her ex. She stole $100 million from her own family's company. Her dad is going bankrupt, and she does this? Heartless. This is a new level of depravity. What kind of person does something like that? The same people who had offered her their sympathy now felt like fools, their pity turning to white-hot rage. Thousands of miles away, Chloe was oblivious. It wasn't until she and Leo were shopping at a designer boutique and her credit cards were all declined that she realized something was wrong. She tried to call her father, but the call wouldn't go through. It was only when she went online that she saw her world had ended. Her face, her videos, they were everywhere, plastered across every screen, accompanied by a torrent of hatred. She had become a pariah, and Leo, the moment he realized she was broke and disgraced, vanished, taking the last of her physical cash with him. In that moment, Chloe finally understood what it meant to have nothing, to be utterly alone. She tried to fly back to the States, only to discover she had been placed on a no-fly list pending an investigation for corporate fraud. She was trapped on the island she had chosen as her paradise, now a penniless and despised fugitive. The last anyone heard, she was seen dragging her suitcase through the streets, rambling to herself like a madwoman. Robert Astor, broken by his daughter's betrayal and the collapse of his company, suffered a major stroke. He was moved to a long-term care facility. The Astor family, once a shining dynasty in New York City, was completely and utterly destroyed. With the fall of the Astors, the Rossi Group acquired all of their prime assets, cementing its position as the city's leading real estate developer. And Sophia and I could finally step back from the war and live our lives. Our contract marriage had, somewhere along the way, become real. I took her to meet my parents when they returned from Europe. They are wonderfully open-minded people. When they heard the story of what had happened with Chloe and saw the brilliant, kind woman now by my side, they were thrilled. My mother took Sophia's hand, instantly charmed, and slipped a family heirloom, an antique jade bracelet, onto her wrist. Sophia blushed, looking at me with a shy smile. I smiled back and squeezed her hand. In that moment, I felt a sense of peace I had never known before. That evening, we returned home. Sophia looked at the bracelet on her wrist. Caleb, sometimes this all feels like a dream. Me too, I said, wrapping my arms around her from behind and resting my chin on her shoulder. I thought my life was destined to be a tragedy the moment I met Chloe. I never imagined that when one door closed, another would open. I'm not another door, Sophia said, turning in my arms to face me. Her expression was serious. I'm your front door. She stood on her toes and gave me a soft, quick kiss, the one that leads to happiness. My heart felt full to bursting. I lowered my head and kissed her deeply. This kiss held no strategy, no calculation. It was filled only with love and a profound sense of gratitude. We may have missed each other's pasts, but our futures were now inextricably intertwined. 1 year later, our 1-year agreement had long since expired, but neither of us ever mentioned it. The wedding rings never left our fingers. The partnership between Orion Capital and the Rossi Group grew even stronger. In the boardroom, we were the ultimate power couple. At home, we were simply a husband and wife, deeply in love. I sometimes thought about Chloe. I heard she was eventually arrested overseas for getting involved in some illicit activities. Robert Astor remained paralyzed in a nursing home, a shell of his former self. I felt no pity for them. You reap what you sow. My time and energy were reserved for the woman I loved. It was a perfect weekend afternoon. Sophia and I were having tea on the patio. She was leaning against me, reading a magazine, while her black cat, Onyx, snoozed at our feet. This was true peace. Oh, Sophia said, looking up at me, her eyes sparkling. The company is having a team-building retreat at the beach next week. Do you want to come? The beach. My body tensed reflexively. Even though it had been a long time, the memory of drowning still held a dark power over me. Sophia noticed my reaction immediately. She put her magazine down and took my hand. It's okay, she said softly. If you don't want to go, I'll just cancel. I looked into her concerned eyes, and a wave of warmth washed over me. I shook my head and held her hand tighter. No, I'll go. I couldn't live in the shadows forever. Besides, this time, she would be with me. A week later, we were standing on the beach. The sky was a brilliant blue, the sand soft beneath our feet. Our colleagues were laughing and playing further down the shore. Sophia held my hand as we walked along the water's edge. The sea breeze caught her hair, and in the golden light of the setting sun, she looked like a painting. I stopped walking and just looked at her. Sophia, I love you. It was the first time I had ever said those 3 words to her. Sophia froze for a second. Then a smile more radiant than the sunset spread across her face. She didn't say anything back. She just threw her arms around my neck and held me tight. I hugged her back, burying my face in her hair. The waves lapped gently at the shore, washing away the last remnants of fear and pain. I knew then, with absolute certainty, that from this moment on, my world would be filled with nothing but sunshine and her. Bonus scene. Later that night, in our hotel room, I came out of the shower to find Sophia sitting on the bed, looking at my phone with a very serious expression. What are you reading? I asked, walking over. She turned the screen toward me. It was an old message thread with an Instagram gossip account called at NYC Dame Drops. Me. Hey, got any new talent on your radar? Looking for someone young, handsome, clean-cut, the kind of guy girls can't resist. At NYC Dame Drops. I might have someone, but he's expensive. Me. Money is no object. Send me his file. I have a gift I'd like to send to my ex-girlfriend. Sophia raised an eyebrow, a slow, dangerous smile playing on her lips. So, that college student Chloe fell for? I rubbed the back of my neck, feeling a bit cornered. A coincidence. Purely a coincidence. Sophia let out a little scoff, then tossed the phone aside. In one fluid motion, she pushed me back onto the bed and leaned over me. Mr. Vance, it seems you have quite a few secrets, she purred, tracing circles on my chest with her finger. Her eyes were dark and mesmerizing. Perhaps you'd care to confess them to me tonight? I looked up at her and swallowed hard. It was going to be a very, very long night,